Hey, the Hangout is on air. Good afternoon, everybody, or good evening, depending where you are. My name is David Cole. I'm with CB2 and with NextMap here in San Francisco. I'm online right now with 4 wonderful educators and a great collaborator, Bridget Rigby, who's working with me in NextMap. And we're here to talk about paper circuitry in 21st century notebooking. There's lots of things we can say about it. Paper circuitry in its own way has kind of taken off, which is for lots of reasons. We may get into some of that as we talk. But we've got these 4 wonderful practitioners from around the country. We've got people from Virginia, California, and Vermont. And I'm going to let each of them introduce themselves, and then we'll go through a conversation where each person will get a chance to talk about their work, some of the experiences they've had with making practices, integration work with STEAM, paper circuitry specifically, 21st century notebooking. And then we'll come back around and talk about sort of an applied angle and get a take on that. So thanks, everybody, for joining. And why don't we go, at least on my screen, left to right. Bridget, let's go in that direction. Bridget, do you just want to start? I'm just looking at the screen.
Sure. So I'm Bridget Rigby, and I'm really excited to be collaborating with David on this project. I was lucky enough to meet him, I guess, about a year ago at a library event where he just wowed me with that Tide notebook, where visually you can see the data being pulled in from the Tide tables. And we had him come to the Tech Museum, where I was learning director, and lead some workshops for us and be part of our Open Make event. So just got me really excited about all this paper circuitry, and I can't wait to hear more about what you all are doing with it.
Yeah. Gabrielle?
I'm Gabrielle Schoppa, and I teach 6th, 7th, and 8th grade CTE in Ablemarle County Schools in Charlottesville, Virginia.
And Jeannine, you're up next.
Oh, okay. Jeannine Huffman. I am an adjunct faculty at Teachers College in San Joaquin, and before that I was with Da Vinci Center for Innovative Learning in middle school and high school paper circuitry and design.
Great. And Jill, you're in Vermont.
Hi, my name is Jill Dawson. I'm not currently working under a contract, but my background is as a humanities and a social studies teacher and a language arts teacher, and I have a tech integration endorsement as well. I've been playing with paper circuits for about a year, so last summer I started out tinkering around with e-textiles and blending that into bookbinding, and then discovered G's stickers and NextMap's AT Tiny 85 instructions, and my art and the tech piece just sort of went together naturally, and I just really enjoy playing. So
great, thanks. And Lisa?
Hi, my name is Lisa. I am a CTE teacher for Albemarle County. I'm at Henley Middle School, and I teach several things, but the paper circuits and wearables have allowed me to kind of blend them together, which is awesome. And I'm a beginner. Gabby's probably the first person that had me playing with them, and we've gotten together to do some things together before. Great.
Thanks, everybody. So I'm going to sort of moderate this and move things along. But the thing I want to comment on, and you may have, if you're watching and you've read some of the introductions and the short bios, the range of skills and experience and perspectives on this Hangout are remarkable. We've got people in Albemarle County, which is led by Pam Moran, and so Pam's leadership in that district is remarkable in terms of what she's endorsed and supported over the years with creative learning. And the practitioners with Lisa and Gabrielle are going to give us a chance to listen about how that works in their classes and in some of their experiences in and out of school. I met Jeannine at the same session that Bridget mentioned, which was at the Tech Museum of San Jose last summer. And Jeannine's a teacher trainer and a STEM instructor and a wonderful, wonderful designer and maker. So there's a lot we can learn from hearing about how she trains teachers and how she thinks about her own practice. And then Jill's work, Jill has just been kind of on fire with Wing Your Book. If you've not seen that website, I guess we'll get a chance to look at that or hear about it. But the combination of craft and artistry that she's been doing and executing, and we've been seeing this on the Google Plus site, has been a real pleasure to watch unfold. So it's a great group of people talking about this practice, and there are lots of different angles, whether it's systemic from an institution's perspective, or it's the actual technique and materials conversation. So it's going to go all over the place today. And I'm pretty excited to sort of hear what people have to share. So Gabrielle, do you want to start? Because I think we'll just go through this and we'll kind of mix it up a little bit, but take turns and explain the way this goes. I will say the way we're going to handle this conversation for people listening is we're going to begin with a general description of our backgrounds and our work in the area and some of the things that have held our attention in our own experience. And then we're going to shift to the second part, which is sort of a practice-based conversation where we've thought about what we're going to be doing coming up and tried to think about it in an applied way so that we could think about how we're backwards planning, what we're troubleshooting, what are some of the goals and the things we're working on now to talk in a more applicable way about some of the projects or implementations or questions we're trying to answer. So that's the way this will run. And any good questions from you guys? You all good? Ready? All right, so Gabrielle, do you want to start? Go ahead.
Okay. So I have been a French teacher for a long time, and then at my school about 6 or so years ago I started teaching the informational technology, and so I was kind of like the technology person. And I've grown into the CTE role, which is career and tech ed, but my classes are really like a maker-style classroom, which has a wood shop with making tools and other kinds of tools. We have 4 3D printers in there. We're getting a laser cutter. We have like silhouette cutters, and we also have a new sound studio for this year. So we do lots of exploring, use technology to create our projects of different sorts. With the paper circuits, we've done lots of lighting up writing and artwork, usually around a theme. And my 6th graders really love it. And from that, we progressed to other kinds of circuitry using Makey and make interactive projects like musical instruments, touch walls. And with bare conductive paint, we've also used the same circuits. And from there, we've branched into other kinds of circuitry with soft circuits with sewing and adding different sensors to those. And I mean, it can go really anywhere you want it.
So I have a question, Gabrielle, as you go. I feel we should just feel free to ask questions as they go. Can you talk a little bit about when you started this work? Because I think we've gotten accustomed to just that's well, there you go. So let's talk about learning curves a little bit, okay? Because I think for people who have been doing this kind of work, we hear the term 3D printer and we hear these things, and it all seems very doable. Mm-hmm. But you've only been doing it for a year, and you're in a fully detailed.
Not actually a curve.
Explain a little bit about that curve, would you? Because there's a lot to be learned in listening to our respective experiences.
Well, I have a lot of support at my school, in my administrators at my site, and also in my district, like you mentioned, with Pam Moran and Chad Ratliff and Ira Sokol, who are instrumental in making the makerspace style learning and the spaces available to us at our school. So, and lots of grant writing to get those machines and materials. And then also to take us to training. Like last fall, I was with a group of 10 teachers. Lisa was with me, and they took us up to the New York Maker Fair up in Flushing Meadow, and we spent 3 days there. We went to the New York Museum of Science, and we spoke with the people who do the programming and shared ideas. And so there's a lot of people helping support what we do in the school to get all the kids exposed to all these things.
Right. Thanks for that. I interrupted you in your riff, so carry on.
So last spring, Jie came to Ablemarle County to talk about paper circuitry, and I was invited to that, so I met her and learned about it, and after that I started exploring, and just kind of took the templates that I got off of Chibitronics and just started it. And then I think like what Jill said, exploring and experimenting, and there's a lot of online things you can use to do so. You can, try all different kinds of lights, and then if you want to, you can try the sensors and just keep going. So, and that is just how I started.
And she was hooked by then.
I was hooked by then and started sewing with the electronic, conductive thread. But so I really like having the freedom to do that kind of exploring, and the kids love it. The kids love it too. So
I got a question for you about the skill sets you see the kids coming to your classroom with. Sometimes when we do these workshops, we work with educators of a certain generation, and they come out of a craft experience where they were used to cutting and assembling, be it shop class or traditional home ec or sewing, where we're used to working with materials, and so many kids nowadays aren't in that fashion.
Right.
I'm curious what you see in terms of your populations, of your kids, whether you see their aptitudes or their skill sets being a limitation or an asset or both. What do you see in terms of learning curves? Because some people take to this very quickly, others not so much. There's an innate exploratory experience and an aha moment that's implicit across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious what your take is on that, both as a learner and as in terms of what you see of your own learners.
Well, we do a lot of learn by doing and just-in-time learning.
Yep.
So if you didn't know the skill ahead of time, it's open for you to learn, and there's someone who can assist you, and there's very much sharing of your competency.
Yeah.
The kids are really great about that. If you mastered the soldering, and it could be the day before, you're there showing someone how. I've had a table of girls learn and then become the teachers for the next group that comes to the soldering center. We have little centers in my classroom, in this maker-space classroom, Center for Soldering. There's the 3D printers on one side, and we have dedicated computer for that software. So if you want to, so we teach certain kids to be in charge of these different areas, and then they become the teachers of the others. So that way, I am not just running around crazy through every part. I did that at the beginning, and it's crazy. So.
Yeah. Yeah. And then I think it goes without saying that's not something that's a master educator being able to pull off small group learning like that. And so, that's not small. That's great.
We have like sometimes up to 28 kids in the classroom. So, and everybody's moving around, doing the thing they're doing, and getting supplies and taking it back to their workstation. And this could be woodworking, and this could be soldering, and this could be using a 3D printer. This could be anything. So, but you have to be okay with the chaos. It's organized chaos.
Yeah. Any other questions, Gabrielle? We'll move it along, but I want to make sure there are any other questions from folks on the call here, on the Hangout for Gabrielle. We good? Hey, Jeannine, do you want to go?
Yeah, sure. I was a science teacher before I moved up to high school, and I just love experiments and making things, and that really seemed like the last subject that you could really do anything with your hands, but I want to say legally as an educator that matches the standards. You're all laughing because you know what I'm talking about. And I was one of those science teachers where in our district with the No Child Left Behind, we were allowed to teach science 2 30-minute periods a week.
Oh.
Wow, terrible.
Yeah, it's horrible. But we would spend a big part of Friday afternoons doing science experiments anyways. So then I ended up at the San Joaquin County Office of Education to find someone to help me figure out how to solder leads onto a motor, and I ran into Jim Bach. And it's at the San Joaquin County Office of Ed also has a teacher's college that they've begun quite a few years ago, an intern program for teachers, admin, credentials, and a master's program, and now a doctoral program. And we're accredited. So in our same building, we have our robotics department, our film and media department, and I ended up with a classroom in the very place where I earned my intern credential. So for me, when I had to spend $1 on my first blue LED at Radio Shack, I just choked on that. How do I get this into with my poor kids? Because I'm always thinking of the poor teacher, me. And when I was offered a position at the county, I saw people soldering together LEDs as just toys, and I thought, where is this place, and where do they get all this stuff, and who pays for it all? And when I was offered to go in there to work on that, they showed me a map. They said, well, you're going to be teaching the science of energy, but do you want to teach graphic design, or you want to do this kind of robotic stuff? And I pointed the map, and I got to be right next door to Jim Bach. And with his mentoring, I was able to learn soldering and how to use a resistor and a capacitor. And so I was able to spend a lot of time learning how to do the Lego robotics. And then Dustin Roberts wrote that book, Making Things Move. And I was very interested in automata, and I still am. So in reading her book, I learned about Arduino. And then I started looking online, and I ran into high-low tech. And from there, my brain popped. And you all know what I'm talking about. There's the paper circuitry, there's do-it-yourself, homemade circuit stickers, Jie Qi, I can't say your name quite right. And I looked at all that stuff and I thought, my gosh, I have to pursue this. And so I was given a budget, and I did the same thing as you, Gabrielle. I learned with my students, and they oftentimes quickly surpassed me on a skill, or would be teaching a student right away. So it's always like controlled chaos. Students are working on all their different projects. And the thing that we started to have happen is a lot of visitors wanting to know, how do we do what we do? So we had other county offices of ed. We just hosted a workshop on paper circuitry and programming your notebook. And I'm just trying to think of Alameda County Office of Ed. Berkeley came out to learn how to do that from us, to give back to their teachers. So we're kind of a hub in our area, and it sounds like you guys are hubs in your areas as well. And so what I've done is this year, I'm only working for Teachers College, and I'm teaching a STEM class, and I was just approved a program, or another course, where we could go deeper into paper circuitry and really get that programming. And as an educator, I have to tie in the next generation science standards. And so that's what we've been doing this summer. We've been offering through Teachers College project-based learning for Lincoln Unified School District. And so we had 80 teachers for 2 weeks. And we just hammered them on getting that engineering standards in, getting the math in, getting the technology in. And when we had an engineering day, we had 80 teachers come through. And one teacher literally jumped out of her seat and after doing the paper circuitry with the Chibitronics and putting together that next map notebook, and I put a blue front on it to make it a little more decorative. I think you could see that, David.
That's great. It's really lovely. Yeah.
The teacher jumped up and she said, every teacher should know how to do this. And I agree, because it's not more to do or to know. It's just one more thing you can layer on. You're already doing it. So how can we make science and engineering and STEM more interesting for students? I think paper circuitry is it. So in my studies and in my thinking and my own building, my own knowledge, I realized that paper circuitry is the fastest for me to learn. It's the fastest for children to learn if I have a limited time. Then I can take them to simple programming. And from there I can, I'll show you this just real quick. I won't turn it on. Here's just a simple little robot that I had a senior make with an Arduino. All she had to do was control a servo, make adjustments with it, and add an LED to it. And that took her all day just to add the LEDs. So I think the paper circuitry it's so exciting and it's fast. There's a quick reward. It's not scary. And David, you've used the word before. It takes the friction away from learning. Wow. So I'm on my own little path. I'll share more later.
Great. Thank you, Jeannine. Hey, Lisa, do you want to go and give us an overview of your experience, so to give a little more, just a little bit more detail?
Yeah, actually, I taught science and technology at, what is this? Hold on. Okay. I taught science and technology at a private school in Charlottesville, and I actually entered a master's program for a dual concentration in special education and environment-based learning. It was harder to get into the county, so I picked up the SPED endorsement and did the student teaching and maternity leaves, and ended up being offered this position in CTE. It wasn't full-time. This was 2 years ago. It was part-time. And part of it was, hold on. Part of it was entrepreneurship, a life skills class, and a computer class. And to make a long story short, it's been really fabulous in order to blend science in the life skills or home ec class, because it's not something I went to school for, and had to imagine looking at fabric and just as another way to enter in, add more steam to. And I've always been a multimedia artist, and I'm a photographer, so this was nice to be able to teach kids another layer, like you had said, on adding more of the circuitry to things I was already teaching them. So one of the things that I was working with 6th graders was just greeting cards. Why would you want to send them? What's the point? To teach them that you should say thank you, yada yada yada. And then it's like, oh, we could add these lights, And so I had a Donors Choose grant for $400, and the Gates Foundation matched half of it. So.
Wow.
So got all the stuff from Amazon, and it was like Christmas when you open the box. And so I used the silhouette to cut out. This was for Valentine's Day, the first thing we did. And we used the Chibitronics materials. We printed out the sheets. We used circuit stickers. We used copper tape and everything to just kind of give them the practice. And then we moved to greeting cards, and we added them on the inside. So when they would open the card, the lights would come on. And so I worked with, I think, 250 kids to make Valentine cards for their mom. This was like, even the photography class, I'm like, hey, let's go make cards for your mom. And I would say to the boys, do you have a card for your mother yet? And like, oh, no, but we're going to make one in here, right? But it was so great, and the parents were happy, and the kids were having fun. And then I started playing with fabric, and that's from Gabby. We had a PD. And
homegrown.
Yeah, and so instead of making the bracelet, I took a needle book that I had made. I had put an owl on the front, and so I lit the little owl's eyes up, and so when you attach the snap, which creates the circuit, the eyes blow out, and it looks all kind of spooky, and my kids think that's funny. But we were able to kind of do that and play with the circuits, and I'm a beginner, but just like Gabby said, the county really embraces the fact that you do not have to be an expert. They expect that kids are going to have tunnel vision for certain subjects. They're going to know more than you in certain areas. And we're a team. It's nice to be able to say we're working together. I'm facilitating it, but I'm not necessarily, it's not drill and kill. They're learning as we go. And so the Coder Dojo camp was this summer, and we had kids from 5 to, I don't know, 14 or so, doing masks and bracelets and badges, and I was using low-tech things. I had a Big Shot die cutter that I had used for paper, and we cut out felt shapes, and then we popped LEDs in the beginning, and they had to use their sewing skills. So it was nice to be able to teach a kid what they could do with just a few pieces of scrap material.
That's great.
So that was fun. I hope to do more of the things that Gabby is doing, and I guess it's Leah Buckley has the jacket online that I'm a cyclist. No, she's got the jacket, so when you raise your arm, the light turns. I really want to make that jacket. It's on my list.
That's great. Hey, thanks. So, Jill, do you want to talk a little bit about your work, and then we'll switch up and go right into some examples?
Sure. As I mentioned before, I'm not currently working full-time in a classroom. A lot of the work that I've been doing has been kind of freelance work, doing workshops with my mentor, Lucy Delabrie. She has invited me along, and the two of us have been planning workshops geared towards soft circuitry for middle-level girls to get them more jazzed about STEM field. The STEM field, actually STEAM. I think the A in STEAM is super important. But we started out with a soft circuits workshop where students from a variety of middle schools in the area, female students, came and they brought their teachers with them. So it was groups of 3, and they worked side by side, and they helped one another collaboratively. And they learned some paper circuitry in the first workshop. So we made circuit boxes. We made a book with a sliding paper switch, and they also did some e-textiles. So books with little sewn felt covers. So they did all that in one session in January, and then we had a second session in May where we also taught them how to code LilyPad Arduino. And Lucy came up with an idea based on MIT's, they have a garden that's done with paper circuitry, and all the girls created their own flowers out of a variety of different materials, and they brought them to the workshop, and we taught them how to code the flowers, and they created community gardens. They created like a community garden, but they also created their own potted flowers, and they coded them, and they got to take one flower back, one
awesome.
pot back. It was really, really wonderful. And we haven't really been able to keep up with the demand because we're doing this outside of school. I mean, I hear you all talking about what you were able to do in school, and I'm envious that you get to have a classroom where you get to focus on experimentation and creation and tinkering, and I don't think, in my personal opinion, that there's enough time for that in schools. And I think that for me personally as an artist, I need a lot of creative white space to think and ponder and play and make mistakes, and I don't think that we give our students that opportunity, and it's not our fault in schools, but the time doesn't always exist with so many of the other pressures. So while I envy you for having the ability to be with all those kids all the time, in some ways I'm not envious that I get to have them on the side for longer stretches of time, because I think that a lot can be said for that as well.
Yeah, Gabby, how late do you stay up when you make your projects, right?
Yeah.
Late.
Yeah.
Jill, I'm so curious when you say they coated the flowers. Can you describe, like, what kind of effects did they coat in?
Okay, well, we taught them basic, like with the LilyPad Arduino. Are you familiar with that microprocessor? Okay,
yes.
Well, we taught them how to do blink, and they moved way beyond that. So, then they would get one flower blinking, they'd get two flowers blinking, they'd get three flowers blinking, and then they wanted to know, how do you fade them? Oh, how do you blink and fade at the same time? And before you know it, they're asking, I'm like, oh my gosh! The questions that they asked were really great, and I believe it was Gabrielle that mentioned that they start to ask questions that might exceed your knowledge and expertise, but they were really excited and really motivated and really persistent. So that's what I meant by coding. So coding the flowers. So the flowers would have, they had wires connected to an LED, and those wires got connected to the lily pads, and then also, they took one with them, and then others were kept in a larger collaborative garden.
Yeah, what a visual! Yeah. All the flowers together. Love it.
Yeah, Lucy that was a great idea that she had.
Hey Jill, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you have some stuff you could share with a screen share, or just the stuff you've posted on the Google Plus community is really it's an eyeful. It's really great, and it'd be lovely to get a walkthrough, and we can segue from here into sort of demonstrations and sort of comments on projects and troubleshooting, and we can start to see some examples and sort of comment on them. And we can ask questions of each other and so forth.
All right,
so if you can share your screen, we can do that, and then we'll move around and then we'll just talk openly about that.
Okay, just 1 second.
Sure. Yeah, this point you make about out of school is huge. Of course, everyone's very familiar with that. Mm-hmm. The possibilities for block scheduling, or even within a bell schedule, to have team teaching where you can follow a project through the school day is another way to address that. It's very hard to do much of anything in a 50-minute window, especially when you need, as you say, Jill, the idea of white space to sort of play and explore. And has a great deal to do with having the space. Like Gabrielle, the kind of space you're creating in your room, I think, introduces possibilities that kids aren't used to seeing. So when they simply walk in, whether you're on a bell schedule or not, they know they're there to do something that's quite different than traditional learning. But the school day is not an easy place to be for extended PBL.
We also have, starting this year at Burley Middle School, which is my school, we also have a new librarian who has ripped out a lot, and her office is now a makerspace with a drill press. This is in the library. A 3D printer, sewing machine, and she is right across from me, so there's these centers there for kids who may not be in my class can go in there. And then we also have a room that we have gotten back from another use that has a kitchen in it, and that's going to be like the school-wide checkout makerspace mess hall, as I think we're calling it. So there'll be other spaces to use too.
That's great. Libraries are a wonderful, I mean, people are puzzling over how to use libraries in all kinds of ways. It's an old question. And I think the installation of these tools and the proximity of it to regular classrooms, you know just what to do with that, obviously, when there's a 3D printer in the library, right?
Well, this particular person, May Craddock, she worked at a high school in made that into like a maker library, and now she's coming back where she used to be at my school a long time ago, and she's coming back to do it. So yeah, it's already, before school has even started, it's already great in there. Do you just feel like you can just go in and do whatever you want in there, you know?
Yeah, that's great.
Can you see my screen?
Oh, that's
yes,
cool.
now we're seeing your screen. There it was.
Oh,
It showed up.
Oh,
Okay.
I saw that. That's so cool.
Well, this is the book I finished yesterday in a little bit of a pinch. You might notice a paper clip in the top right corner
Right.
because I haven't actually put a fancy closure on it yet. So the thing I really like about this book, up at the top you might notice there's like a little on and off power switch that's integrated into it. There's a gentleman, I hope I pronounce his name correctly. He's on the he's on the 21st Century Notebook page a lot. His name is David Paines. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. And he's really good with electronics. So when I first started working on this book, I didn't know how to make something blink and fade at the same time. I could only blink or fade, and he suggested that I learn about for loops. So upon his suggestion, I did. So this book, you might notice there's some fading and some blinking, and that was because of his suggestion. And I throw that out there because I think that with paper circuitry, I think it's really cool when people can help teach other people and give them suggestions. And I've found that I think that's the biggest reason that I've kind of started to take off is like getting different tips from people, and it's pretty interesting. So the way that I created this book was I cut a recess for the battery, for the AT Tiny 85, and for the switch, and then I created my circuit. I soldered the LEDs, and I used the surface mount LEDs, which are my personal favorite at this moment. And then I cover the circuit with paper that I painted. I'm kind of still working on these. I think I need to make some more models. Every model, I think I learned something different. For example, this model, the hole for the battery is way too close to the corner. I don't know if you could, it makes it really difficult to work with in that corner, so I need to move that battery more out from the center, more towards the center of the book, I think. I also made the discovery that when you put, if you use glue to cover a circuit, like I'm doing, the boards will warp if you don't put them into a book press. But if you do put into a book press, you run the risk of having the solder break off from the pressure, and that's what happened to this book. I had a little problem with one of the LEDs and one of the eyes. The right eye, it's working now, but I had to like put a bend in my cover so that the solder made a connection with the LED. So
Oh, wow.
Anyway, yeah.
That's cool.
So that's
great.
Thank you.
That's great.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that's the latest thing.
That's a very cool thing. And for people, can you just can you give the URL just verbally? I think next time we do one of these hangouts, I'll make sure that the
Sure.
Showcase app or the Q&A app works. But it's the Bling Your Book, right?
Bling the book at blogspot.com.
Yeah, and if people are listening and would like to see it, go to the Google Plus site, 21st Century Notebooking, and check it out. Look for Jill's work. It's remarkable. Does someone else want to share some images or some samples?
Sure. Yeah, I'd like to go ahead and share. What I found in doing paper circuitry is I ended up with all kinds of things all over the place. Just tons of, greeting cards and, all sorts of fun things. And I realized last summer when there was Hack Your Notebook Day and getting ready for that I should start putting everything that I do in the book. And I started to think I would take Jie Qi's idea from Simonetti site, and I'll take us over there in a minute. And I thought, okay, I'm going to set up a tutorial, and this would be my sample book. So the first one, what I would do, like what we did right there at the Tech last summer, is just do your own little fun drawing to get you started, because the last thing I want to do with my students and say, oh, we're going to learn about environmental sensors and pretty quick. The they're asleep, I want to engage them right away. So the first thing is I take them right into just a simple circuit, and then how they did that simple circuit, they're going to have to document, because that was one of the things that we wanted to share, is this is a resource for them to go back to. And of course, you know, you can turn this into a little switch, and then, you know, at the tech, again, this is where I've learned how to kind of do this. Your little guy lights up, and so from there, just go to you know, I said, well, I want two things to blink, and in this case, I wanted, you know, to me, the students are seeing this part. That's the part they're getting interested about, but what I want them to learn is the circuitry part. And I'm just going to make sure I'm get myself back in here. There we are, in the right view. So again, it's documented, everything, you know, where your positive negatives are, so you can follow it if you're getting into more complicated circuitry. Then the next one that Jie Qi has on her site is just making a simple switch. So here I thought, well, okay, I want to, I'm tired of holding the, you know, my finger on the battery. I don't have my notebook electrified yet. I'm going to do that because Jen dictated that, and I'm going to be able to do it too. I've got the cell phone battery charger that we've ripped apart. I've got two, one for backup. And so then everything will be, you know, electrified, powered. So here, you know, again, here's your little, go back down, a little switch. You fold it, and then here you've got your little design light lit up. And so that's pretty exciting for the kids when they can see that they can do that. And so from there I thought, well, what's next? And to me, logically, is the AT Tiny. So again, using your simple idea, and this is probably the most exciting part for me, is to embed the engineering into the paper circuitry.
Yeah.
And then it's all documented. And then after that, I thought, okay, I'm going to go and get a little bit nuts here, and I really need to get going like Jill did. I'm slow at it because the problem with being a teacher is time. That's the biggest issue for me. And so this is one that's been on the drawing board, and I want to go right through the tutorials that Jie has, because I want to get to where she has that sensor that when she blows on the dandelion, not only does it trigger that dandelion, her goal was to make all the dandelions, or the nearby dandelions, trigger, and the seeds go off as well. So for me, I thought, okay, well, my next thing was to try to, you know, okay, now we'll do the Chibitronics in parallel, and then with Jill sharing her skulls and her turtle, she shared her sketch with us online at Google, the 21st Century Notebooking page, and so I had to drop everything, and I ran and did that.
Yay!
I had to do it.
Hey! Wow!
Wait, here, it was so funny. There it is. There's the baby. You know, and I said, I have to get to that point because I have to help my students find how to do that. So my problem is I soldered over a trace too closely, and then my husband was going, well, we'll get the multimeter out and we'll find where your problem is, and we haven't done that yet. And I thought, no, I made it. I can peel off the little layers, and I can fix it and go back, and I thought I'd only try one LED per pin. And so from there, my goal is to add those little, I have one sitting here, my little precious little sensor from robotics, and that's where I'm going next with the kids. So.
That's great. Thank you, Jeannine. Really great. So one of you folks in Virginia want to share something? Gabrielle?
Sure. Let me put on the screen share.
Sounds good.
There I am.
Yeah.
There's Bridget.
So I wonder what happened.
You guys were stuck too?
No, you're sharing your screen. I think if you tab over to whatever application you're using,
Right.
I think it'll pop up.
while we're waiting for that screen, I just wanted to share that I also have a book, kind of like Jeannine's, that it's getting pretty fat with.
Let's see it. Let's see that.
Well, I have a lot of these silly sugar skulls in there, but.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this is where I started playing. Well, I'm trying to force myself to write more because I have to admit the fun part for me is making the circuit, making things blink. That's what I want to do, and I think that's what a lot of the kids want to do. But I don't know that's going to give us the most bang for our buck. Well, let me see if I can.
I hear
Bill, can you hold it up a little higher?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Let me find one that's more bright because I'm showing you some boring pages. Hold on, I'm sorry. I was just.
That's okay. No, it's great to see this. I'm actually very interested in the documentation process for people who are used to doing formal documentation. It's a really great learning tool, and a lot of us take that for granted as a goal, but it's quite hard to pull off.
Here's an example of there's an image, and then my circuit's in here.
Oh.
And the thing I really like about this, I wanted to write something about this alien, but it was hard for me to write, and what I ended up doing is videotaping the circuit, like video recording the circuit in action, and I turned it into a video.
Right.
And then I added a 25-word story over it. And for me, that's how I like to use paper circuitry with literacy, is to record the paper circuit and then use it in like a green screen video or something, and then overlay it with text.
Oh, nice.
It's less painful for me than using a pencil.
Your paper circuit there almost looks like what the aliens leave in the cornfields.
It does, kind of.
I just connected that when I saw your aliens. Now it all makes sense.
So David, I'm trying to screen share, but I'm not able to get mine. So I go to screen share, the little green tab.
Yeah.
And click, and then I'm going to entire screen.
Yeah.
And share.
Yeah.
And it was coming before, but it's not now.
Now I think it was working. We're seeing your. I think we're still viewing your screen, which is showing your browser. So if you want to show something in another browser tab or in another
just
application,
click then. Oh, okay, gotcha.
I think you would tab over to whatever.
Here it goes.
Application. Yeah,
there you go.
There we are. That's it.
Okay, so some of these are from class. So they did a template first in their notebooks. This is one I made as an example to show them for Dia de los Muertos. And I also showed them some photography. So I was up in Boston area, and we went to this really old cemetery and took pictures, and I thought, well, for Halloween that'd be a cool one, so I just printed out the photo, and then I did circuit on the cardboard and wrapped it to the back with a battery holder here, and then with the art cutter cut out a little bit that I wanted the light to shine through, and kind of diffused the white lights with the tissue paper. And then the kids have used this technique on some of their work here, like the red eyes. These are white behind, but she put red. So the theme was Halloween. This is 6th grade. And they had to use a parallel circuit. This one here has tissue paper behind. And they really like this idea of diffusing the lights with colored tissue. Some more. Some 8th grade. We talked about doing the circuit as part of the art, that you can actually see the circuit.
Could you zoom in on that dragon?
I
don't know if you can zoom there. I can see him. All right. How cool is that? It's art.
Cool one. And
I think that's the first time I've seen that. That's really cool.
Here are some makey projects that are using the conductive circuit, but were hooked to Scratch or a Scratch program, in which in this one she played each string on her viola. She's an orchestra student too. She played each string on her viola and recorded it, and then she went into Scratch and took the makey Scratch piano and replaced the sound with her own files, and then she can play this viola with her foot. It was a lot of fun. I kept this one because it's so cool looking. It's taller than I am.
Oh, that's marvelous. Really great.
Three girls worked on it, and she volunteered her viola sounds. This one does the same with the guitar, less string. And then this one actually was really cool. I had a hula hoop. I had a hula hoop, and they made it into a heart harp. And then they put hookup wire here, and put knots at the top and bottom. And then they put their conductive tape down from each one onto the board, and then you could hook it to the makey-makey with alligator clips. And you could play. You could go on and find each note on the harp strings and play them by touching. So it was pretty cool.
Oh, wow. And this is all. And so, if we'd bumped into you a year ago, Gabrielle, none of this would have been part of your vocabulary. Is that right?
The year before that, I got my makey-makey kits with grant money, and so I had started exploring with the makey-makey in one of my classes I had in informational technology. We started doing some other kind of making.
Yeah.
And so then these kids, though, just exploded it because we just looked at a couple examples. I had like the banana piano on my desk, and they played that, and then it just went crazy. So it was good. Good crazy.
That's fabulous. That's great.
And Gabrielle, I don't know if you have any pictures, or could you just tell the group quickly about the project that you did with your French class? Because I love how you've incorporated it into even the more traditional subjects.
Yeah, here's a couple here. Here's the French sconce. It's a little smaller, but here, the paper sconce with the Eiffel Tower, and as it goes around, it has other ornaments that have been punched out with a sharp point. And inside it has 2 parallel circuits, and so it runs with 2 batteries on each circuit, one on each circuit, so you can stand it up and they lay out flat. So she took her copper and turned it on itself and made little leads that you can hook it to. And then here's a clock from a monument, and she has her parallel circuit behind. So just added a couple of those. I put some sewing circuit pictures in. So we're using the same circuit, you know, and these are sewable LEDs. So this is a bag I made. Since then, 2 8th grade girls we first constructed the bag, and then we sewed the circuit into the lining, and the LEDs are here. It's really cool. It has a snap switch to close the bag. And then this is probably an example you've seen online that is like a beginner project with a switched battery holder. These are some of my fellow CTE middle school teachers, and I taught a LED bracelet with snap switch PD, LED dance gloves with conductive thread, and the bracelets some kids have made, the little monster. And then here's Lisa.
Oh, hanging out at Gabby's house, yeah.
Our homegrown PD. T-shirts that kids bring in that they want to light up. This one has a lily tiny, so that they have 1 pin for fading the lights and 1 for heartbeat. And then this is a little more complicated. It has a RGB LED with conductive fabric that I cut on the silhouette cutter, and then I ironed it onto the felt, and then it has, I don't know if it will play a video or not on, well, it changes color as you use Velostat plastic that has carbon in it, touch your fabric, and so it acts as the resistor, and the harder you press, the less resistance, and the color will go.
Right.
So that's kind of cool, new thing. This is my LED tutu.
Oh, you finished the jacket.
It actually has a Chibitronics sensor sticker sewn in, so I just sewed through the sticker and put it onto my circuit, and I put the conductive thread in the what do you call it, bobbin.
Right.
And just turned the circuit towards where the lights were going to be sewn, and just hung them onto the rail with stitching. And then the sticker sensor will make them flash. And then this is my lily pad Arduino with the lights on it that have a random blink that's coded in.
That's great. Now, the kids in your class, so is this a regular schedule? So all kids at your middle school are going through your class or something like it, or is this an elective?
So all 3 of my classes are elective. In 6th grade, I have pretty much every single 6th grader that goes through a rotation, and it's 1 semester every other day for 40 minutes.
Okay.
So in 1 year, I have 8 classes of 6th grade. In 7th grade, I have 2 classes. They last all year. Every other day, it's digital media studies, but we do all kinds of things that have to do with anything.
That's great.
And then in 8th grade, we have engineering, design, and build, where we do a lot of CAD, 3D printing. We do some coding, and then we build with these circuits programmed in them, or not.
That's remarkable. That's great. You can imagine what a ninth grader is going to know by the time he or she arrives out of that cycle. No, that's great. Really great. Hey, can I share some things that I'm thinking about here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can do that. I'm going to grab that, share that, and I'm going to go here. So can you see a slide there?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a great quote. It reads, 10 years ago, building something as simple as a network thermometer required some understanding of electrical engineering. Now it's a Saturday afternoon project for a beginner. That quote from John Bruner, who works for O'Reilly, really inspires me, and I think that's a space that we're all working in now, because this is the possibilities, and the stuff you all are sharing is evidence of all that. I'm going to go through just a couple of quick slides to give you some context and then talk a little bit about the things I'm thinking about. So we're looking at traditions and innovations and paper circuitry with the history of notebooking it brings with it and the literacy angle, as well as the integration of materials and electronics, is a great blend. We think about notebooks, I think about it this way. There's all kinds of notebooks we know, right? There's the author's book and an artist's book, an engineer's book, a traditional lab notebook. And you know, I've done some work with Natalie Freed, who you all know, I think, and it's been a real pleasure working with her. And Natalie's comment about the process is the product and vice versa really struck. It really makes a lot of sense. And the notebook is a real great way to think of that. Here's an example of one of the things we're working with now, which is a project card that introduces a simple circuit diagram. And you notice all the different annotations. This was with a national writing project folks in Pittsburgh. And we're using these cards now to give educators and kids a chance to think about annotations and sort of try to find a way to prompt that sort of reflection, because it's not a natural thing, but there's a lot of learning that you have. So we're looking at this kind of annotation efforts to build up a kind of notebook practice or different sorts of literacy and information. And at the same time, a notebook collection looks like this. This is from a middle school project and a high school project this summer with a group in Berkeley, the Bay Area Writing Project. And it's really about new literacies. And so we talk about technical and expressive expertise as the sorts of thinking and fabricating that you can do, and it's with things like this. These are the new tools. And that's kind of the springboard to this conversation about what does it mean to work with tools like Chibitronics and others. And here's a screenshot of the coding that Natalie has done to help put the Tidal Notebook project on its feet. If you look at the URL, if you can read it, tidesandcurrents.noaa.gov, this is the C++ code that she uses to call the NOAA API to pull that information in. I think I can play this here. What's interesting here, this is a snap demo, a little prototype that's pulling the same information in off the web. So this is an online version of that. You can do it, and Snap is a extension of Scratch that was developed by the CS department at UC Berkeley. And so in talking about this prototype with Natalie, and I wanted to share this because this is the type of thing we're trying to work through. This is an online version of, in real time, this is every time you run this program, it calls the information and demonstrates the tide in the same place as it does in this book. So when we look about this book, the book is a very familiar demonstration of notebooking activity, but it looks like this in the back. So it's got these embedded electronics, Wi-Fi dev board from particle.io. And here's the circuit diagram that Natalie has put together for it. But we're looking at this in terms of an open data project. I think this will play as well, so if you've not seen it. This is, whoops, no, I don't want to do that. Let's go to the next one. Bear with me. Yeah, here's another version of the same thing. This has been milled out on another mill. Natalie and I were talking about, this one's called a Tide Project Display. And so we're working on how do we begin to integrate open data and what are the different formats we can use. So this is one of the questions we're trying to sort out in terms of how to pull things into the project, how to display it. And this is something you might think of as just sitting on the wall in a classroom. But it's been milled out on another mill, which is a CNC milling machine. And that's the Spark Core, but it's a headerless version, so it can work very nicely on a PCB board. And that's what the back of it looks like. There you can see the LEDs illuminated. Yeah. So exploring this from an open data perspective, how do you bring open data into the classroom? How can you work with it is one of the things we're really interested in following up on. Different angle here. This is at a group in San Francisco last week. The alt school team was playing with circuits, and we were doing simple. We've talked about using tape, like getting kids to understand how to put tape down is a real trick. So you know, when you get the blue tape, you can just do it anywhere. This is actually erasable desks. So teaching people how to do the curves, teaching people how to do the squares. And this, let me see if I can play this. This was, yeah, Bridget and I yesterday were, I'll just let that run. But you could imagine, this was a group of teachers from a charter high school in San Francisco called Life Learning Academy. And they came in, it was part of their back-to-school PD or their back-to-school orientation. They spent a few hours in the afternoon with us exploring paper circuit work. And this is the full class, this is the full school team. The chef is there, the yoga teacher, the history teacher, the science teacher, the art teacher, the engineering and making instructor is there. And these this blue tape, they had a challenge. They had to create a single trace. Each of them was given a piece of tape, and they had to turn at least 2 corners in front of them and make a single connection. So part of it has to do with very high-end questions about how to deal with open data. I'm sitting right now in a place called Many Labs in San Francisco, which is a wonderful new space that's been supported by the Gordon Moore Foundation, and it's all about open data and citizen science. And so this is what I'm here to work on, and Bridget and I are thinking about how to do that. So those are 2 things I'm thinking about right now, and I wanted to share those with you. Yeah. Lisa, is there anything you want to share? We're coming up, got 5 minutes to go or so on the hour, so if you'd like to share some stuff, Lisa, by all means, go right ahead. Or we can ask questions of each other, whatever you like.
I think that the biggest thing I'm trying to do this year, I have 2 grants. I have a Shannon grant that's using funds to create some electronic products. It does not use paper circuitry, but I am interested in having, I really am a big fan of recycling and reusing products to do something else. And I'm very interested in having my students take either a piece of clothing or something else and revamp it using the circuitry that they have. I don't know, I think Gabby knows this. Last November I entered Startup Weekend in Charlottesville, and I had an idea to pitch. The idea was to pitch a business for creating a thumbprint locker opening, and it did not make the top 10, but we ended up coming in 3rd, and I had 4 or 5 people come up to me and say, hey, I'd like to work with you on this. And it was the fact that we were able to use coding and Arduino that sealed the deal, I guess. Took apart a locker, and it was just amazing. It really brought a lot of attention. It's like, wow, can you imagine the stuff that we could do? We 3D printed the prototype for the locker, the combination lock. We were able to 3D print that. So I'm blown away by the possibilities that I can do with this class. And I have entrepreneurship too, which is the high school credit. So these students present projects at the end of the year to the business community. So it's just a wide open thing. We used Arduino processes in 2 of their businesses last year. So I'm excited about the things that we can do, and then just also everything Gabby's doing, I want to do too, obviously.
We do too.
That's great. Really great.
No green envy here.
Yeah. No, the entrepreneurship angle is huge, and I think, fabricating and producing something for use, I mean, it's a really natural connection, and as kids get older and move up into high school and late middle school, the entrepreneurship angle is a really, really big deal. It's such a great thing to leverage, and the combination of what you both are doing makes so much sense.
Well, it changed for us. I went to, I guess, Gabby's counterpart at Henley, and I had said, hey, would you like to teach entrepreneurship with me? And Adam's like, yeah, that'd be great. So we pitched it to the admin, and they loved it. And the idea is that if we can teach them, whether it's shop tools or Arduino or Raspberry Pi or whatever, or adding circuits to fabric, it allows them to create greater prototypes. So when they're presenting their business, they have a better understanding of how to do that. And so this is the first year that we are that we're launching this collaborative class, and I'm just stoked. There's just too many things to do there.
That's great. That's really great. Hey, well, yeah, go ahead.
I just was thinking how nice it would be to have a library for the 18 Tinies started, where we could use that as a springboard for our ideas for projects with students. to help kind of spur their creativity, like the fade and the blink. Jill, that would be great to share some of yours. And I was trying to think of a place that would be, where we could all, I don't know if there's a place on the 21st Century Notebooking Google community site for something like that.
I think it might be really interesting, especially to see these more complex builds that you guys are doing, and look at the sketches that you guys are modifying and sharing. It would be really interesting to create that, perhaps as a subgroup, because I know that people are quickly tracking into this. You can hear it on this call.
Right.
So that's something to look at. It's been a wide open sort of general catch-all, which is great. But I think more and more as this becomes something that can actually be repeated in and out of school, it would be really great to gather that. So that's something to talk about for sure. Hey everybody, it's 5:30. Time flew, huh? So thank you so much for joining us, all of you. This is the beginning of a series of them with the G+ community, and so let's look forward to more of this. There are lots of things we didn't touch on. The whole business of making practices and the pedagogy behind it is something that we could spend a lot of time talking about. But at the same time, seeing work and actually thinking about it from a creative and troubleshooting point of view is so satisfying. So thank you. And thanks to all of you who watched. Follow us on the Google Plus community and follow these wonderful educators where you can find them.
And we'll have a couple workshops coming up in the Bay Area too, for those of you that are local later this fall.
That's right. That's right. If you're in the Bay Area, keep an eye out.
Jeannine, I believe you're leading one of them, right? The programming one?
The programming one. I'm excited.
Oh, I wish I could be there.
You can fly out.
All right, everybody. Hey, thanks a lot.
There.
See you again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye.